So we are right on time, and we all know what's happened to one of our national heroes, and we would like to honor him with 1 minute of silence, and then we play the national anthem, and then we shall get started with our webinar. Thank you very much. As we continue, I invite you to type in the chat where you're joining us from and what you're expecting from this webinar. Without further ado, I invite you officially to this first webinar, a series of 3. Today we are looking at policy from the professional side and the learning side. And our first speaker of the evening will be Professor Kuria. Professor David Kuria is a distinguished land administration professional and licensed surveyor with over 25 years of experience at the intersection of geospatial technology, policy, and implementation. He formerly served as acting secretary and CEO of Kenya's National Land Commission as director of the Geoinformation Management Directorate, where he conceptualized and together with others led the development of the National Land Information Management System, now operational as ADISATA. Professor Kuria currently serves as Managing Director of Favored Geosolutions and Adjunct Professor at Dedan Kimathi University of Technology. He holds a PhD in Civil Engineering from the University of Tokyo and has published over 40 peer-reviewed papers on land administration and geospatial systems. His unique combination of government leadership, academic expertise, and private sector practice places him in the intersection of cartography, policy, and governance. Professor Kuria, karibu sana. Thank you for honoring our request. And I am sure we are going to get the right information from you, and it will challenge us as you continue representing cartography. And I am your moderator, Catherine Jore. So the next half hour is yours to wow us with information.
Thank you. I'm trying to get my presentation visible. It's there.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Catherine, for that eloquent introduction, and also for the opportunity to share with our listeners and viewers on this topic. I'm trying to minimize my screen. Okay. Yeah, and the topic that I'm talking about, as indicated, is on cartography in policy and research. And what I present today is a perspective, So based on policy and implementation, what we've done and what I've experienced. Going on, the way the organization of the material is, I have structured it in 4 main parts. So taking us through why cartography matters, then its role in surveying and mapping, and the need for cartography, and then calling us to action. And why does cartography matter? So when we look at information and we specifically consider maps, maps basically allow us to see where resources are, who has access to those resources, and those who are vulnerable. Those who are vulnerable, and also helps us see where development is needed. And of course, cartography then, as the field where we work to make maps, then helps us transform data into the visual knowledge to enable us make better decisions. And as you can see, without cartography, then whatever we do or whatever presentations we make may not communicate properly. And so we can look at cartography essentially as that silent foundation upon which all development would be anchored. Because everything that we do, especially tied to development, happens on land. And so for us to be able to guide or to inform policy, we need to have properly done maps. So with all the cartographic skill in display. So we need accurate maps and well done maps. And having worked for the past 25 years in this space, I have seen the challenges that sometimes present when you have claims to land, and there is inadequate or incorrect documentation, especially in the sense of maps. So you find you grapple with real chaos, because maps basically will help you be able to place where particular land parcels are or lots are, and be able to address disputes that perhaps could have presented. But now without the maps, then we definitely will be in a bad place. So we have had cases where you get so many claimants, but the moment a map and a well-done map is presented, many of those claims fizzle out. There is also a recent project that we've been working on, and one of the outputs of this project were maps done to precise cartographic standards, and so this was for ARAP. So the work itself is not yet done, but ARAP for the Kisumu Malaba SGR Phase 2C, now working in 5 counties. And so from these experiences, the role of cartography has come out as a foundation or a bedrock for proper communication. So when we look at engagements, especially at the county level, where planning by law is happening. So for a county to be able to do proper county spatial plans, it requires base maps. When we think about infrastructure projects, roads, water, etc., again, good maps will communicate, will help. And so from this, we can see, because these are just examples, but basically, I believe they illuminate what we are saying here, that for us to do proper planning, then we need maps. And good maps are maps that speak. And so maps that speak basically indicate proper cartographic work done on those maps. Then looking at what we did when I was with NLC, working on the public land inventory and also supporting land use planning, the monitoring bit commission dealt with. All these require systematic frameworks, and this cannot happen without the cartography being at the heart of them. And so what we are saying in a nutshell is that if you don't have cartographic products, whatever you are planning is based on guesswork. So cartography is critical, and the cartographic products as a consequence are critical for proper planning. Now, moving to surveying and mapping. Of course, for many of us, our encounters in cartography are from those who are from a surveying and mapping background. When we make maps, so the kind of cartographic standards we adhere to as we make those maps. And from experience, what I've seen, cartography helps us get legal certainty. So when we have well-done maps, cadastral maps, this, of course, will define property boundaries correctly. Then when we look at policy implementation, what ourselves we did, we came up with the NLIP standards and guidelines, which were gazetted in 2016. But for us to be able to do the standards and guidelines, the idea was that for us to implement the NLIMS as envisioned or as envisaged in the laws, we had to have proper standards and guidelines to guide that process, since the commission then, much as it had the mandate, also required to partner with various other stakeholders. And so for us to be able to attain that, we had to get the standards and guidelines, and some of the aspects that these standards and guidelines speak to those aspects on map making, the kind of products that are made from the system, or that will be made from the system and from the data that will be stored. So how the data itself is prepared and processed, which to an extent draws from cartography, and then how the maps are presented, which is again cartography at work, and so on. And then for the other function is in terms of infrastructure planning. So when we are planning to have, say, transmission lines for electric power transmission, or for infrastructure such as rail and road. Again, as we've indicated, maps play a key role in this work, the base maps and topo maps and what have you. And of course, well done maps is simply cartography, cartographic excellence. So when you have a well done map, that is cartographic excellence on display. Then for public land management, for us to be able to have a systematic inventory, then we need to ensure that we have accurate mapping. And of course, the moment we have mapping, we are talking about ensuring that we have visual products. So this could be even maps that you generate on screen or paper-based maps. And again, cartography is at the heart of that. And so when we look at cartography, we are looking at it here then now as part of policy infrastructure. So where we are saying that maps are not just pictures, but they are legal instruments, and also the fact that cartographic standards ensure data interoperability. And when we have poor cartography, basically then what we are saying is we'll have poor policy outcomes. And when we look at our NLIM story, we had the conceptualization phase in 2013. Then between 2014 and 2016, standards were developed, and these involved more than 80 stakeholders. And then in 2016, the Gazette notice for the standards was issued. And then, of course, now from 2016 to 2021, the system was developed. I had a role together with many others in that system. And what we are saying then, especially for the NLIMS story, is that what we could say as a part of the success factor, especially when it comes to the visualization of the maps and the data, were that cartographic standards came first. They were not an afterthought, that they were embedded right from the beginning. And then now looking at the challenges that the field or practitioners in this space face. So we have what we are calling the recognition gap. And the main challenge is that cartography oftentimes is looked at as technical support, not as core part of policy. And as a consequence, that we have limited investment in cartographic capacity. And then we also have a disconnect between those who make maps and the policymakers. So we find the policymakers, since they take this as just technical support, so the thinking then would be that maps are just like any other product, that but not the key thing. But as based on what we have seen so far, we can't just wish these into being. And an example of our success story is the public land information system and also the ADISASA. What we are saying is that we had the cartographic framework first as one of the elements in the standards and guidelines. And so what would be our priorities? So looking at it from an African lens, the first thing is standardization. So because we have so many coordinate systems, so working to ensure we harmonize systems, coordinate systems. Even within a country, you may find, like in our case, you have several coordinate projection systems. And then capacity building. So basically, talking about training the next generation of cartographers and having them have pride about the profession. So not just as surveyors, but even being pure cartographers, making elegant maps. Then there's also the technology transfer. So where we adapt tools that work elsewhere, we adapt them to our context as Africans. And then data sharing protocols, so where we enable cross-border mapping initiatives. So these are what I would consider some of the priorities that we can look at in terms of research. But now for our policies, I'm proposing this three-tier approach where at the national level, that cartography is recognized as one of the key policies in the NSDI policies. And perhaps whether it is within a Survey of Kenya or any other entity that we have this properly established as a cartographic standards authority. I know we have the mapping units, but having cartography, the cartographic components stand out, not to be subsumed within everything else. And then, of course, funding systematic mapping programs, because when we have mapping exercises going on, then cartographers will find expression. Then at the institutional level, when projects are being commissioned, that cartographic quality assurance is embedded. And then also building in-house cartographic capacity so that we have, whether it's surveyors or cartographers per se, that these are capacity built so that they're able to have the cartographic products properly done. Then at the professional level, so strengthening professional bodies so that we're able to incorporate cartographers within the professional bodies. Currently, in our case, we are, I believe cartographers find expression within GIS chapter in ISK, but perhaps we could advocate that within that chapter, that it is loudly prescribed that cartographers get also proper recognition. So perhaps at some point in future, it can be considered to even to get a chapter on its own or be properly anchored within the existing chapters. And then also the aspect of continuous professional development. So we have programs that are geared towards building cartographic capacity and cartographic skill. And so the need for cartography is clear. So what we've seen from my discussion, without accurate maps, we'll get many land disputes. Without standards, systems don't interpret, and without capacity, projects fail because there is no one to run those projects. And without recognition, you have inadequate investment, because if it's not properly understood, then whatever investment would be set aside for that particular component will be grossly be inadequate. And there is this highlight here that we spend millions in Kenya resolving disputes, but these are disputes that if proper cartography had been incorporated, some of those could have been prevented. And from a governance perspective, so we have some tools. So at the At the national level, we have the NSDI, we have the LIMS, and then we have standards and specification frameworks. Then at the implementation level, what agencies use, mainly these are GIS software, CAD software, databases, and for public access web mapping portals. Then in the field, we have GPS, GNSS receivers, total stations, and drones for mapping. And so based on our experience, the selection of the tool at the policy level is that you should focus more on standards over tools. So where in this case, we specified information about the coordinate system, the accuracy format, but not a particular software brand. Then also allow for the mix of solutions. So because in government, majority are using ArcGIS. Counties also use a mix, but we also have QGIS. And if all meet the same standard, then they can be used interoperably. Then capacity reality, you need to use or to require your staff to use tools that they can maintain. They understand those tools and they can be able to maintain the tools. So what in essence we are saying here is that policy will prescribe standards, but not specific tools. So it's only at the implementation bit that then the implementers will seek the tools that meet those standards. And the governance challenge, when we look at tools, of course, there is a cost and licensing. So we have proprietary software. So you can mix proprietary and open source to balance out the costs. Then there is a skill gap where you have tools but without trained users. So when tools are procured, basically what we are saying is you procure with a training budget. Then there's also the challenge of data silos. So we have different systems creating fragmentation. So the idea then would be to standardize the formats. And then the fact that technology gets obsolete pretty rapidly. So you need to budget for upgrades and training. And the key thing then is to invest in people and standards first. And then after that, you can plan for the tools. And so the call to action, as I come to almost the end of my presentation, is that for policymakers, the thing is that we should mandate cartographic quality in spatial projects. So ensure that there are some standards that have to be met as we implement spatial projects. Then there should also be the funding of systematic national mapping programs and the establishment of cartographic standards body. For researchers, it is documenting our unique African cartographic knowledge, being able to develop context-appropriate methods, and being able to build evidence base for investment. And for practitioners, advocating for recognition of cartographers or cartographic recognition, and maintaining professional standards, and mentoring the next generation. And so this is what I want you to take as the key messages from my talk, is that cartography is policy infrastructure, not technical decoration, and that recognition requires demonstrating value at implementation scale. And Africa's development depends on strengthening our cartographic capacity, and the time, of course, to invest in cartography is now, because you cannot manage what you cannot map. And so that should be my talk. And so I want to thank you for your attention. I don't know whether the questions will come now or at the end of the second talk.
They can drop the question. They can drop the questions in the chat. Please let's give Professor applause on our profiles. You can send a clap for him. Thank you, Kimathi. Yeah, so thank you so much, Professor, for the insights and so much information that is very important. I hope this recording will reach to the many who have not been able to join us. Thank you, Bethwell, Hadja from Uganda, Evelyn. Thank you, everybody. Yes, so without further ado, we are inviting Dr. Kuria. We had both professor and doctor with the same name. Dr. Kuria works as a senior lecturer and researcher at Dedan Kimathi University of Technology in Nyeri, Kenya, in the Institute of Geomatics, GIS, and Remote Sensing. He doubles up as the director for the Center for Spatial Information Science and Systems, which is the research arm of IGRES, that is the Institute of Geomatics, GIS, and Remote Sensing, and also the head of the Remote Sensing Research Group, RSRG. He is a geomatics engineer who holds a PhD in natural science from the Ruhr University, Bochum, Germany, a master's in geomatics engineering from Stuttgart University, Germany, and a bachelor in geomatics engineering from the Jomo Kenyatta University of Technology, Kenya. He has garnered over 15 years experience working in the field of GIS and remote sensing, both within and outside Kenya. His research interests focus on utilizing remote sensing techniques to address community and societal challenges through participatory approaches. The key areas so far have centered around food security and mitigation of environmental degradation through community participatory approaches. He has published his research work in different peer-reviewed scientific journals, in addition to supervising various bachelor's, master's, and PhD students. In addition, Dr. Kuria is a full member of the Institute of Surveyors of Kenya, ISK, as well as a licensed drone pilot and drone instructor. He is a Rotarian who enjoys playing sports, hiking, and participating in community-led engagements during his leisure time. Karibu, Dr. Kuria. You have the next 30 minutes.
All right. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. So I will share my screen. So thank you for that introduction. As Prof was doing the presentations, I was able to interact with some of the participants, and I can tell that not only among colleagues, among friends, and I feel at home. So thanks, Prof. And it will be a tough one coming after you, getting what you've covered. But I will try and sort of like touch on the intersect between the policy, research, and the education or the training perspective of it. So that's an overview of what I will be covering in the next 30 minutes or so. So we look at what is interlink is, the crossroads that exist in the cartography, the key policy and research challenges existing, the role of higher learning institutions. Then we'll give a case study of the training institution I'm attached to, Of course, then we look at the way forward before driving some few conclusions. So in case you hear anything that has been repeated from Prof's presentation, the repetition will be for emphasis purposes and not for monotony purposes. So kindly bear with us. So cartography provides a blend. And coming from the university perspective, where we are able to interact with various the students and members from other faculty, it's something that has not been appreciated. The fact that cartography is a thing, and majority of the persons or the people believe that it's just like drawing and sketching something. Then you go back to the geo-visualization tools. But actually now the task that we usually have is to try and propel this concept or idea that actually even the geo-visualization tools, the softwares, the programs that you're using, they once required a cartographer to be able to conceptualize them and maintain them within the established standards. So in a nutshell, we say that cartography communicates this spatial knowledge. So space, how one thing relates to the other, and it's interdisciplinary. So there's no language. Once you look at a map, even without whichever language it is in, then you're able to understand or to tell what the theme of that map is. On the other hand, then you have policies, and these policies are meant to, or they either shape or they are meant to shape how mapping is recognized, right? And this has been alluded to as well by Prof, and how resources are allocated towards its implementation and its rolling out. Then on the other hand, we have research, which then is the main driver of innovation in visualization, the integration of the various data that we have, and finally, how this data is accessed. So cartography is one of the oldest trades, where we began from sketching things on the soil or maybe on the road when you were giving directions. You did not need Google Maps, you did not need anything, you just needed a stick, and then you'll pick it up and draw, sketch something, a route on the road, on the soil for somebody to follow. Since then, it has evolved with technology to the area that now we have geovisualization tools. You can have your Google Maps, you have dashboards, which you're able to analyze various things and present them in a way that can be consumed by people from various fields and disciplines. So this transformation has redefined what mapping is, what cartography is, and unfortunately, it has overshadowed the traditional cartography as we knew it. The result of this is that there have been some design challenges because there's no synchronization now of what has been done. Anybody can draw a map. And so more often than not, we get some miscommunication, some geographic data miscommunication in terms of the color coding, in terms of the scaling, and such aspects. In as far as the policy framework is concerned, it has been a matter of the tail wagging the dog, and it has been playing catch up towards trying to catch up with the technological realities. So the technology is moving at a rate to which the policies that have been developed are trying to catch up, talk of data security and such things. So many countries, in that sense, they lack clear cartographical accreditation systems. When you're developing maps, and the prof has also alluded to a coordinate system, when you are developing maps, what coordinate system are you using? Are they synchronized, or do you just use anything that you're there or that is available? So these are some of the challenges that have been identified or that we can talk about. And the first one is that cartography has been merged into the broader GIS remote sensing field, such that if you have access to any GIS tool, then you can be able to develop a map, right? The standards that have been existing are either not known to the people, and the ethical guidelines are either outdated or missing altogether. They have been automated. Most of the things have been automated, crowdsourced maps, which again present a lot of challenges, given that you cannot be able to control the quality of this data that is being collected. Our backgrounds in as far as our socialization, our political orientation, shape how we use these maps and what maps you use, how you are able to utilize these maps. Funding, in as far as the cartographic education and research is concerned, has also been a key issue, with most of the grants that are there are not just being given for cartography on its own, but it has to be connected to something, to some research which utilizes cartography. So this has exposed us to very weak collaboration between the academia, government, and the industry, for whom, of course, this technology should be utilized. So what is our role as institutions of higher learning? The main, which has been training, and the main aspect here has been the designing of cartography programs. So these cartographic programs should be oriented and be able to embrace the new changes that are coming in as far as redefining cartography is concerned. So for those that have not developed cartography programs or programs in cartography, then there's that call to design them. For those that have existing curriculums, there's a call for it to be modernized so that you're able to integrate tools, that you just don't carry around your drawing tools, go to the lab, lay down your paper and so on. But there's a way that you now integrate whatever is happening, the new skills, the new technology into the cartographic world. There's a need for mentorship of the students, encouraging them that cartography is actually a thing. There's something called cartography, which you can be able to specialize in and become a cartographer. Is not just a tool that about map making. So this requires a lot of mentorship and also a lot of resources allocation in as far as the mentorship is concerned. We have different various departments within our learning institutions, and they all need maps. I remember one of the aspects where when you have every year you have new students coming in, and the call is always like, can you draw a map? Can you sketch for us a map to show the students the routes and so on? So bringing in all these various disciplines and into the map making role, then it will help them appreciate the role that cartography plays in as far as mapping is concerned. Then we have the role of anchoring policy engagements through these interdisciplinary programs research policies, advocacy, and public outreach. So we have to get this information out that we are doing, this is what we are doing internally, but how do we communicate this with the rest of the world? Say, even in the schools during the career selections, when they're selecting the courses they want to do, what they want to venture into, how much are we doing in as far as preaching the cartography gospel out there? So I'll briefly provide an overview of what we are doing at Institute of Geomatics, GIS and Remote Sensing. So this is integrated. Cartography and data visualization, as it is right now, is integrated as a core aspect in geomatics engineering, right? So the students are taken through 4 units that are core to cartography. And the first one is the cartographic drawing, where at the end of it all, the students are able to demonstrate the basic cartographic skills. So this is where you learn how the scale, how a map should look like, the colors you use, all these aspects. So from the principles of cartography. Before going to cartographic and visualization 1, where they impart the students with basic concept of cartographic drafting, median technologies used, and introduction to the communication process, right? So you're just not doing a map, you're trying to send out a message out there. And then, which transforms again to cartography and visualization 2, which is done then again in year 2, semester 2, before finally doing the digital mapping. And that is in the 3rd year, the first semester of their 3rd year. And so I'm really keen to mention that these are some of the things, these are the core which touch on cartography at the heart. But of course, you'll find that they're integrated into other aspects. If you talk about GIS, when you're learning GIS, we'll still need you to come up with a map. When you're talking about remote sensing, after you do analysis, we expect you to develop a map. During the project phase, we also expect you to come up. But the skills, the core training then comes from these 4 main areas. So we do not stop there. We ensure, or we try and engage the community, the stakeholders, and in this case, we draw stakeholders mainly from our catchment area within the university. So we have learners all the way from primary school, secondary school, and even members of the community. Our catchment, where we've been targeting the Water Resources Users Association, because of the organization and the involvement in the environmental conservation. So we've published some children books using this cartographic approach, and to ensure that this is not just done for appreciation purposes, but we're able to engage them in activities like even tree planting, environmental conservation, so that they appreciate how the interlink between cartography and what can be done on the ground. We also host workshops where we call in some learners in our workshops and be able to take them through both the digital and the analog ways of looking at maps and appreciating them and bringing them up to speed with what maps are and how we're able to interpret them. So for those who are not able to come to the institution, we're able to organize outreach programs through our various partners and other projects that we've been undertaking. And we are able to take this gospel out to them. So we go out to schools, we're able to introduce these aspects of cartography, among others like remote sensing and GIS. But eventually, we try to let the learners and the community at large appreciate what is being done in as far as this cartography and map making is concerned. Now, what is the way forward? in as far as cartography is concerned at the institutions where we are, looking at the policies that have been developed, looking at now the research institutions and the funding organizations. It's no doubt that with the advent of artificial generative AI at the moment, the automation of so many of these processes and cartography is being redefined. It has been redefined from the concept of cartography as we know it, the contemporary cartography as we know it. It has been redefined, and this is an aspect that we cannot ignore. We have organizations, both international, local, and national, which have these mandates of setting out the pace and defining the rules by which we should play. So we need a motivation to know, as a cartographer, and this is what Professor alluded to. I need to know what my growth path is. I've become a developer, I've become a cartographer, I've joined this organization, but what is my growth path? What is my career growth path? Or do I just join and remain at the same level for the rest of my life? So in as far as the professional development is concerned, this is something that should be considered, not just by at the national level, but also at the institution as we try and grow the professional bodies. Then breaking the silos, we need to know to engage what others are doing, we're able to align so that we don't again adopt practices that are not outward looking, that do not adopt or are not synchronized with what the rest of the world is doing. Then we need the integration of these three aspects: the policy, education, and the research, right? So there has to be a way that they are speaking to each other, that the policies that have been developed have been advised by research, outcome of research. And this has been working well in other aspects where universities have been hubs of research, where centers have been set up, data with this research being going on, that then goes to advise the policy. Then the public needs to know what we are doing, what is being done, what is this cartography. So host public exhibitions, map competitions. We've had a few of them, and some of our students have participated, both at a local level and also international level. So you get to involve the learners, and they're able now to appreciate. Tell them something small like draw a map of your school, sketch your way from home to school, and then they're able to replicate whatever is there. And these are things that they're able to present, and from that early stage, then they're able even to appreciate what cartography is. Then, of course, there's this encouragement to independent thinking. So you think within your space, engineering, be it surveying, be it whichever, but then we harmonize it in as far as the basic technology and skills that are needed to produce these maps. Of course, then we have the publishing of all these policies and all this research in relevant areas where it can reach the members of the public. So as our takeaway, in as far as the experience we have at a learning institution and the far we've come the transformation that has been done as far as cartography is concerned, and the geospace, then it's evident that cartography still remains very central to spatial decision making, right? Whichever decision you make, you'll need a map, right? And this map has to conform to some certain standards that have been set. Okay, so it still remains core in as far as that is concerned, and it cannot be replaced, right, by the tools, the geo tools that are coming in. There's no way cartography will be replaced. It can only supplement. It cannot be used to support. So the institutions of higher learning have to lead the way. We produce the next generation of cartographers, of mappers, of surveyors, of remote sensing experts. All these spectra, food scientists. So if it does not begin from the learning institutions, this gospel of cartography, then we would have missed a very, very great opportunity of sending out this message home. So institutions of higher learning, as institutions of higher learning, we have no option but to keep promoting this gospel of cartography and of its importance. Proceed, we continue the public engagement so that it does not become just something that is internally appreciated, but rather the members of the community, members of the public, policy influencers can be able to appreciate what is being done, and they can know what is needed and how they can chip in. Then, of course, whenever projects that are there, it is always good that when the academia, the industry, and the government can collaborate, so that you can be able to have these synergies in producing products that are workable and appreciated across board. And with that, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity and for your attention this far. Back to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's send some applause to Dr. on our profiles. Let's send some handshakes. Some claps for Daktari Elizabeth. Asante. Kuja mingi hata nimeshindwa kusoma majina. Yeah. Thank you so much. I don't know if anyone has sent a comment in the chat. As we await that, I invite Peter to unmute and also say something. If you have any comment, any question, please share in the chat. Today, I'm not talking, I'm just inviting people to speak because I've been on this journey forever and I'm happy to see the presentation supporting that cartography is actually not just a tool, but a profession. So Peter, Derito, I hope you're in the house. Please unmute and tell us something. Do you have Peter Thuku here? Thank you so much, Daktari.
Okay, I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can. Go ahead. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so mine won't be long. So mine is just a summary, and also to first of all thank our speakers, starting with Professor Kuria and also Dr. Kuria. A lot has been said in terms of spreading awareness and also advocacy on the importance of cartography in both research and also in policy making and so on. So that also falls as part of what is also core in our solutions as part of GeoMind Solution, a recent startup, whereby we are really trying to advocate the importance of cartography in whatever we do and also in all the analysis that is done, so that at the end we can have something that is presentable for both decision making and also for real world problem solving. So also to echo what has been said in terms of the mentorship, that also falls of what GeoMind is doing. Like, for example, the partnering with the Geospatial Developers Club in Dekut, whereby we aim to continue collaborating with them and also to mentor the communities out there and the learners out there in terms of understanding their spatial environment using maps, so that from there they can be in a position to really know the importance of environmental conservation and also sustainable use of water and so on and so forth. So really there is a high need of spreading the awareness of what cartography really is and also the importance of understanding our environment. And we believe that with this continuous engagement with the students in both aspects, both in art, science, and technology, we can really have an impact to also motivate the communities and the learners towards STEM-related careers. And in the long run, we can nature, and also we can bring on board learners that are innovators in the future and learners that really will produce and provide intelligent solutions in the long run. So there is really high need to include the young learners and the young minds, as we are also doing. This is also in line with the books that we already have. That's the Mapping Maria, which really tries to spread the knowledge in terms of map interpretation and also in terms of understanding our environment and so on. Yep. So a lot has been said. So first of all, thank you again to also the participants. That's really what we GeoMind we are trying to do, and we look forward to continuous engagement. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. So Peter and Ivan and others have come up with the cartographer's course, where they're using some of the books I authored to teach young learners through the other students in the universities. And we have partnered also with other companies. We are still finalizing, and we are really excited about this, and we hope most of you can as well join us as we try and make better maps. So we are excited about it, and thank you so much for this session. It seems there is no query. I think people are satisfied. So I would ask Professor Kuria if he has a last remark, and then we can conclude. Unless I've missed something on the chat.
Thank you, Catherine. It's really commendable what's happening in this space. And as a surveyor, because I'm a surveyor by training and also by practice, on a daily basis, we've encountered, and we also do build maps. And I believe many in the audience also make maps. And so as consumers and producers of maps, we are basically cartographers. We are surveyors, but also cartographers. So we cannot divorce ourselves from this course. And so my call would be to all of us to now rethink cartography from the perspective of what Kate and her team are pushing, so that we're able to bring it back to the center, to the heart of the discussion. So let's join her, let's support her, even as we make this profession stand out, because it supports all of us. So let's not be among those who will look at it as just a technical thing, but rather look at it as one of the key components of our practice and core professionals in this space. And so thank you, Catherine, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Professor. And I have not seen any comments or questions, so I think we are good. And that brings us to the end of our webinar. The next webinar will be on the 13th of November, 6:30 EAT. And this topic will be public engagement and communication. Public engagement and communication within cartography still. Yes, Evelyn, your hand is raised. You can unmute.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, it's just a comment. I think we have learned a lot, but there's this 30 days mapping challenge that is coming in November. I think we can all participate in a bid to try and promote cartography. Yeah, just that. So we can
Thank
make
you.
one map a day in November.
Challenge accepted. You'll share more info and then we'll also share it on our socials.
Yes,
Thank you
yes,
so much.
I'll do that.
All right. Any other comments as you conclude? So thank you everybody for joining and have a very blessed evening. You're free to leave.
Thank you.
Karibu sana Kimathi. Thank you, Evelyn and everyone here. Kuwe na jioni njema.